Today we're going to talk about one of the big topics, one of the ones that interests me perhaps more than almost any other, and it may surprise you to hear that it's really about working on ourselves. In a minute, we'll get started. First, I'm Susan Stiffelman. I'm glad you're here. This is the Parenting Without Power Struggles podcast, and if you aren't familiar with my work, please visit susanstiffelman.com. 50 masterclasses with wonderful people like Mona Delahooke and Dan Siegel, Tina Bryson, Gabor Mate, Janet Lansbury, Byron Katie, Terry Real, a long list of wise and wonderful people have joined me on topics on everything from raising sensitive children to getting homework done. So you can check it out and get my free newsletter and lots of encouragement and inspiration every week. Today we're going to start by a phrase or a comment that Gabor Mate made at the end of a session that we did last year, and it stuck with me and it really resonated through me. And the statement was more or less, the most important thing that parents can do for their children is to work on themselves. And this is something that so deeply rings true for me. And on the surface, it might not make sense because it seems like our focus should be on how to get our kids in better shape, how to give them more classes, more talents and abilities, nurture their passions, manage their behavior, help them academically, help them succeed. But while those are all wonderful, that we should focus on their behavior and their mental and emotional, physical health, their development, what he's pointing to is that our children aren't just taking in what we tell them or do for them, they're taking in and absorbing our emotional state. And our emotional state is a reflection of our own childhood, our own history, our own present day health, mentally and emotionally. We can't help but transmit how we're doing on the inside. So we're going to talk about, for just a few minutes here, why doing our own inner work is so important. I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that I've been learning as I've been getting trained in internal family systems, a model that I love. It's just a great fit for everything I've been teaching for so long. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about what that means to work on yourself, because I'm not saying go to lots of retreats and lots of workshops. A lot of us don't have a lot of spare time. But what I'm saying, what I want to share are these small but really meaningful shifts that we can begin to make no matter what we're doing. Because our kids are like emotional tuning forks, right? They really quickly and accurately pick up on our state. When we're calm and we're present, they feel safer, they feel secure. When we're stressed or we're reactive or we're shut down, they sense that as well. And even if we don't say a word, they can absorb from the tone in our voice or our facial expressions, the tension in our body. So working on yourself is not selfish. It's really important in the context of your life as well as your parenting life. When you start tending to the things that get stirred up inside, old wounds, old patterns, old insecurities and vulnerabilities, you're able to create space to respond more thoughtfully and with more presence instead of reacting impulsively. So think about moments when your child does something relatively minor. They slam a door, they refuse to get in the car, and you feel this outsized wave of anger or helplessness. That reaction, even though it might be relevant to what's happening, comes from your past a lot of the time, not just what's happened. And unless you look at the triggers, the origin, you're going to end up kind of making your kids responsible. I only got that mad because you slammed the door. So when Gabor said that the most important work we can do is to work on ourselves, he was reminding us that our inner lives shape our world as well as our children's world. The framework that I'm leaning on a lot these days, as I said, is internal family systems. Its language, the ideas are so helpful in understanding this phenomena because IFS teaches that we all have parts inside of us, like an inner family. Some of those parts are protective. They manage or they control to try and keep us safe and to try and keep us from re-experiencing old pains and traumas. These parts may carry wounds from when we were young, like shame and fear and sadness. And then we have the kind of overview, capital S, self. In my world, I've been calling it the captain of the ship, calm, compassionate, confident, curious. Coincidentally, those words are used to describe the capital S self in the IFS model. When our kids push our buttons or something happens and we get triggered, the critical part might say, "You can't let your child talk to you like that." Or a scared part might say, "You're losing control. You don't know what you're doing." Or a younger part might just feel reactivated, rejected, invisible. And when those parts take over, which they do, and they always have a positive intention, but they can take over, we lose touch with that calm, wise center, that calm, wise self with a capital S, that captain energy. And our child feels the weight of our reaction. But when we notice those parts inside us with curiosity, oh, a part of me is really feeling angry right now, or hurt, or rejected, or worried, we can create enough space to differentiate ourself from those parts and do the healing work. That's what working like on ourselves looks like in practice. It's not ignoring those parts or silencing them, shoving them aside, numbing ourselves, but it's recognizing them so that we can start to heal. So it doesn't mean you're going to do years of therapy or hours of meditation. Those things are wonderful, but even small little daily practices can be really helpful. So here's one. Just pause in the moment when you're feeling overloaded, flooded with emotion, and name the part. I notice that there's a part of me right now that's really angry, or part of me is feeling scared. Naming the part brings awareness and can calm your nervous system. Again, because you're creating a little bit of arm's length between you and the part that's activated. The second is you can offer yourself compassion. Instead of criticizing yourself for being reactive, turn inside with gentleness and just, what does that part want right now? What does that part need right now? Often it just needs to be acknowledged. So that act of self-compassion makes it easier to extend a compassion to your child. And then repair. We're going to all lose it sometimes. What matters is that we circle back, and a part of me took over this morning, sweetheart, and I wish I had handled that differently. Can we have a do-over, or is there anything you need to say about what happened this morning? So you're not just hanging your head in shame, you're acknowledging that you have parts. And I've done one class, a wonderful class, if you're interested in internal family systems, with Tammy Sullenberger, and I know I'll be doing more. So this is an exciting kind of horizon for me to be sharing more. I just came back from the wonderful Internal Family Systems Conference in Chicago. So many ideas, so many wonderful people, including Richard Schwartz, the developer of this, and I hope to bring some of those people to you. So do stay in touch. But healing in using this ability to recognize that in the moments when we become quite reactive, it's not like we need to feel terrible about ourselves. We just have these parts, and we can show our children we are working on ourselves. It also means sometimes journaling or talking with a friend or a therapist. Just the more you can be kind to yourself and recognize that unless you, I don't know what kind of child you may have had, a really stellar one, but most of the people in our community, we have tens of thousands, they didn't have the perfect situation to launch them into an adult life with children where they're floating. They're saint-like. We all have our things. So no shame, no harm in that. It's just these are opportunities for growth. So again, when Gabor said the most important thing we can do for our children is to work on ourselves, he's not adding another task, nor am I. He's just pointing us toward that compass that we want to nurture qualities in ourselves that help our children feel safe and loved and resilient by doing the work internally that makes that possible. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't have to heal everything before your child turns 18. Just keep showing up with that willingness to grow, to turn challenging experiences and interactions into something that, some of the time at least, can open new doors for you and let your children witness you being committed to growing and learning. As always, if this episode offered you something valuable, I would so appreciate it if you would leave a rating or a review. And please tell a friend or share it. That's how we get the word out. And if you're familiar with my work, welcome back. If you're not, please go to susanstiffelman.com and look at gosh, I told you there's at least 50 master classes. We have a co-parenting with a narcissist group that I co-facilitate with the wonderful Wendy Beharry, and also a Parenting Without Power Struggles membership community. I meet twice a month with parents and just do coaching and answer questions for a teeny tiny fraction of the cost that it is to work with me privately. So check out all those options. And as we wrap up, maybe you can reflect on one or two things you've heard before you rush off into your next activity. What's something that you heard today that you want to practice or try? And then remember, no matter how busy life gets, look for those moments of sweetness and joy. Stay well, take care, and I'll see you next time.